Right. Welcome back to the Conviction Fiction Podcast, where we dive deep into the raw and unfiltered realities of life after incarceration and recovery. I am your host, Antoine Rivers, and today we're tackling a topic that's not just crucial, but deeply personal for so many reasons, and that's relapse prevention. Now, if you've been through the journey of recovery, whether from substance abuse, old habits, or navigating life post incarceration, you know that the path forward isn't always a straight line. It's full of bumps, hurdles, and yes, sometimes setbacks. But here's the thing, relapse doesn't have to be the end of the story. It's only a chapter, a painful and often humbling part of the journey, but it doesn't define the rest of your narrative. So, in this episode, we're going to explore the science behind relapse, how to recognize the signs, and more importantly, how to build a strong relapse prevention program that can help you stay on track when life throws you those curveballs. Now, we'll also touch on how these lessons connect to the broader journey of transformation that I talk about in my book, No Turning Back: The Journey Home and the Work Within. You can pick it up on Amazon or you can email me directly and I'll get you a copy. So, whether you're recovering from addiction or rebuilding after a period of incarceration, the tools to move forward are rooted in the same principles. And if you're ready to really understand relapse, prevent it, and ultimately overcome it, just keep listening. This is an important conversation and you don't want to miss it. This is the Conviction Fiction. Relapse is a reality that many people in recovery face, and is often accompanied by feelings of shame, guilt, and defeat. Understanding relapse isn't just about recognizing when it happens, it's about grasping the complex factors that contribute to it. For many, relapse is an inevitable part of the recovery process, not because they are destined to fail, but because they haven't developed the proper tools or strategies to cope with life's challenges without turning back to old habits. Now, all of the statistics around relapse are sobering. According to the National Institute of Drug Abuse, nearly 40% to 60% of individuals in recovery from substance use disorders will experience relapse at some point. This number isn't just a reflection of weakness or cowardness, it's a reminder of how powerful addiction can be and how easily the brain can fall back into old patterns. Now, this cycle of addiction, coupled with a lack of coping skills or emotional regulation or just support, can make relapse seem like a foregone conclusion. It's bound to happen. The brain becomes conditioned to respond to stress, emotional triggers, or cravings in a certain type of way. And for many people in recovery, the first sign of discomfort leads them to return to substances or behaviors that once brought relief, even if it was only temporary. But it's important to remember, guys, that relapse doesn't mean failure. It means that the person is still in the process of healing, still working toward that final point of long term recovery. Now, understanding why relapse happens and recognizing the warning signs are key steps in developing a relapse prevention plan that actually works for you. And I say you because everyone's relapse plan can be different. Okay. We are all triggered by different emotional triggers, right? So, what can we do to break that cycle? Well, first, we need to understand the root causes. First, there's stress, mental health disorders like depression or anxiety, and even environmental factors can trigger cravings and ultimately lead to relapse. Now, those triggers don't just magically disappear, they're going to require ongoing management. And that's what this show is about, right? We all know that recovery isn't linear and setbacks don't erase the progress made. In fact, they can offer valuable lessons about what triggers a relapse and how to better prepare for those moments in the future. Okay, the science behind it all um, is very intricate because preventing relapse is a proactive endeavor. It's not a passive one. It involves relearning how to rewire your brain, building new habits, and establishing a support system that reinforces this new lifestyle that you. The good news is that recovery is a skill, and like any other skill, it can be developed over time. It takes practice. One of those key strategies is addressing the underlying triggers of relapse, whether that's an emotional response or a stressful event or just exposure to drugs and alcohol. Let's start by examining some practical steps that can be taken to prevent relapse. First, the role of therapy in relapse prevention cannot be overstated. Cognitive behavioral therapy, in particular, has been shown to be effective in helping individuals identify and change the patterns of thinking and behavior that contribute to relapse. In fact, research published in the Journal of Substance Abuse Treatment found that cognitive behavioral therapy was not only effective in helping individuals reduce substance abuse, but also in helping them develop stronger coping strategies in the face of stress. Another crucial aspect of relapse prevention is self awareness. Now, according to a study in the Journal of Addiction Medicine, individuals who are more in tune with their emotional state and cravings are more likely to successfully navigate high risk situations. That's why we talk about anxiety or depression or guilt and shame on this show, because this is where mindfulness practices come into play. Mindfulness based relapse prevention will help individuals become more aware of their thoughts, feelings, and cravings without acting on them impulsively. It's about creating a space between the stimulus, that craving, that urge, that feeling to go use or fire up a blunt or do a line, and the response, the decision to use, right? Those cravings will never go away, but you can choose your response. Now, this practice has been linked to lower relapse rates and improved emotional regulation, which is critical in long term recovery. Another building block is a strong support system, is basically another cornerstone of relapse prevention. And the reason being is because studies have shown that social support plays a significant role in maintaining sobriety. There have been numerous articles published that found that individuals with strong supportive relationships were significantly less likely to relapse. Now, this means finding, I don't know, a recovery group, whether it's AA or NA or a local community group like in a church or something like that, or a mosque. It can also mean leaning on family and friends who are committed to your well being. It's also essential to have a structured daily routine. Now, if you've been to prison, you've been incarcerated, you know about routines, right? Whether it's in the hole or whether it's just on the yard, or, if you had a work detail, we're in a program, about daily routine, going to the workout, having a clear, predictable schedule can help reduce stress and uncertainty, which are often triggers for relapse. Now, as much as we talk about the dangers of incarceration, for many of us, it did give us a sense of peace. Okay. For many of us, prison did give us reduced stress because we knew what we had to do every day. We went out and did those things, right? Structure creates stability and keeps the mind focused on positive, healthy activities. You're always looking to do that next thing. Research indicates that individuals in recovery who engage in productive daily activities, whether that's work, school, or just volunteerism, are less likely to relapse. Now, preventing relapse isn't about eliminating risk factors because those risks will always be present. You're always going to know your homeboy. You're always going to see something that could trigger you, like with alcoholism. If you're watching a football game or watching any kind of TV, you are more than likely to see like some commercial trying to get you to drink some beer, or even liquor at that point. But it's all about developing resilience and the ability to bounce back when those challenges arise. By addressing the psychological, emotional, and social aspects of addiction, individuals can build a foundation that strengthens their long term recovery. And on this podcast, that's what we are about. We're about successful reentry and talking about those subjects that many people try to avoid. Okay. Now, there are going to be triggers, and the importance of knowing these triggers is crucial to being able to fend off relapse. Right. So let's talk about triggers. No, not the fun kind, like the ones you put your hand up in class and act like you're shooting or something like that. Not those kind of triggers. We're talking about the emotional, psychological, and environmental triggers that set you up for relapse. Like, for instance, that little voice in the back of your head saying, hey, why not just go back to what you know? It was easier when you just did drugs, or it was easier to have a drink right now. The reality of relapse isn't that it happens out of nowhere. Nope. It's more like a series of unfortunate events. Imagine like a slow motion train wreck, right? If you're watching a movie, if you've seen a slow motion train wreck, or we're going to recreate that. At first, you're just minding your own business. You sipping your coffee. Then, boom, you get a text from an ex-girlfriend or ex-spouse or someone. And then there's that stressful situation at work. Or then comes that random craving. And just like that, you're looking at old behaviors like an old flame you never really got over. It's not even, let's not even start on the high risk situation, right? Maybe it's a reunion with some old friends or old members of the hood that you were from, who haven't gotten the memo that you're in recovery, or worse, it's an environment that makes you feel like you can't escape the temptation. The crazy thing about all of this, these triggers don't always come with like flashing neon signs saying relapse ahead. Instead, they're really sneaky, right? They just come disguised as, hey man, you could just have one drink, or man, this won't hurt. Just go ahead and take a couple of tokes, right? On one line, what's that going to do, right? It's that casual relapse that creeps in like a bad habit that you can't shake, even if you've sworn it off 1,000 times. For example, emotional triggers are the real reasons relapse happens. There are those feelings of loneliness, anger, anxiety, or even success. I know you weren't expecting that. Success can set off the chain reaction that sends you back to what you used to rely on. So, say, for instance, you just got a big win at work, or they hired you for this job. You've been working and working, trying to get a raise or something like that. You want to celebrate. And normally, when you are like me or like millions of other people, sometimes success breeds celebration. And who can't celebrate without champagne or a few lines or a blunt, you know, or a drink? Let me have a glass of wine or something, right? So, as messed up as it sounds, sometimes success feels just as risky as failure, because you start thinking, I'm on top of the world and surely I can handle just a little bit, right? And that's where we often trip up. Success is just another stressor in disguise. And those old patterns start looking mighty appealing when you are under stress. Now, the key here is awareness, and not just the awareness like, hey, I think I might relapse, but a more proactive, vigilant, I know when I'm getting close to the edge and I know how to pull myself back kind of awareness. You've got to know your triggers like you know your own reflection. And when you spot them, you've got to act fast. That means knowing the signs, having a plan, and avoiding that damn rabbit hole before it becomes too late. Right now, here's a fun fact. And this is just for our Conviction Fiction podcast listeners. Recovery isn't a one-way ticket to the land of happy endings. It's more like a road trip full of detours, might have a flat tire, and an occasional road rage incident. There's no GPS for this journey. That's what I'm saying. It's just going to be a lot of well, that didn't go like I planned it. You're going to have a lot of those moments. But here's the thing, relapse isn't the end of the story. It just makes the chapter a little bit more interesting. It makes you wish just really prepared yourself more for this particular ride. So, what happens after a relapse is really what matters. Do you let that one moment of weakness convince you that you're destined to fail? Or do you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep moving forward? Now, here's a spoiler, you're not going to go backwards, unless, of course, you're walking into a bar full of people who are just having one drink. Now, that's like totally crazy right there. That's a solid do not go there, right? But the good news is that, like any good comeback story, you can always get back on track. It's about how you approach it, okay? And you need to have a plan. Like, think of it this way. A relapse is like getting knocked down in a boxing match. Yeah, it sucks. It might even hurt. It's painful. But if you stay down, you lose. If you get back up, you've got a shot at winning the fight. The key is not staying down for too long. You got to get up, learn from the punch, and adjust your game plan for the next time that punch comes. Recovery isn't about resilience coming back stronger after every setback. And no, that doesn't mean you have to do it alone. This is where having a strong support system, someone solid in your corner, and a solid routine comes in. It's like having that safety net when you're walking a tightrope called recovery. One misstep doesn't mean you fall into like an abyss. It just means you got a little closer to figuring out what works for you. It's trial and error, not complete defeat. It's like, I guess, put it in another way, it's like finding the right pair of shoes. Eventually, you'll figure out which ones fit and won't leave you limping or in pain. And yes, you'll fall down along the way on this recovery journey, but it's definitely a doable thing. Okay. It's just like a toddler learning how to walk. You'll fall, get back up, and try again, only with a bit more swagger. Let me tie this all together by reminding you about that book again, No Turning Back. You guys can see it. It's right over my shoulder. Where is it? Over here. If you're navigating a rough patch in your recovery or struggling to stay on track, this book right here, No Turning Back, is basically that friend that doesn't let you settle for mediocrity. And this is that friend who will make you see the bigger picture and pushes you towards something better. So whether you're battling relapse or just trying to stay on your path, this book is here to remind you that you can keep going. Recovery doesn't happen in one smooth motion. It's a journey of ups and downs, and it's a journey worth taking. No turning back, no matter how bumpy the road gets. Last but not least, guys, I want to bring a call to action, because as we wrap up today's episode, I want to take a moment to thank all of you, our loyal listeners, whether you've been with us since the beginning or you're just tuning in. You're part of this movement to change the narrative around reentry, recovery, and life after incarceration. Your support is invaluable, and I hope you found today's discussion on relapse and relapse prevention insightful. Recovery is tough. It's messy, it's complicated, but it's also full of moments where we find out just how strong we truly are. If you've learned one thing from today's episode, I hope it's that relapse doesn't have to be the end. It's simply a setback, an opportunity to get back on track, learn from your mistakes, and grow stronger. So if you're looking for more valuable conversations on overcoming obstacles, building resilience, and making lasting changes, make sure you subscribe to the Conviction Fiction podcast. Every week, we tackle real, raw, and sometimes uncomfortable topics that highlight the ups and downs of reentry, recovery, and rebuilding life after incarceration. There's so much more to explore, from the emotional journey of reintegration to actionable strategies for lasting success. To listen to more episodes, head over to our social sites. Like, check us out. In the link notes, you'll see a link tree where you can listen to the podcast, or find us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. We're everywhere: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. And if you found today's episode helpful, we really appreciate it if you could share it with a friend or leave a review. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more people who can benefit from these stories and insights. So let's keep pushing forward together with no turning back.